Hi, welcome to Downtown Rotary. We are glad you're here. Please stand. First, they did not give us a piano today, so in your honor, I not only wore a bow tie, I wore my Rotary bow tie. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Some of the time.
This morning, we have 3 guests to announce and are excited to share them visiting us. Please stand and remain standing when your name is read. The first is Jill Carlson. She's a guest of Allison Marker, and she works with YWCA of Northeast Kansas. Hi, Jill. And the second is Tony Weingartner. Tony works for the KBI and is a guest of and turned his membership application in, a guest of Joni Underwood. Hi, Tony. And lastly, we have Stefania Caracciani, who has turned in her application, and that's processing as well, and she is sponsored by Yana. She is with, she's a dentist here in town. Yes, please give a hearty Rotary downtown welcome. Thank you all. I had a brilliant Rotary minute pulled up here and it just disappeared. Here we go. Make the most of your Rotary membership. Here's how. Learn more about Rotary Global Rewards. We were just talking about traveling to Hamburg. Now as a member, there is a program, it's a benefit program that offers discounts on products and services, travel, hotels, car rentals, dining, and entertainment. So as a Rotarian, please look into that and think about that. Number 2, you can identify a need in your community and work with your club to design a hands-on project that addresses it. Number 3, learn how to apply for a grant. Number 4, know a young leader. Introduce them to Interact, Rotaract, or the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, or consider sponsoring their membership, like a member of our club has recently approached me about. Number 5, explore other clubs and visit them. Number 6, try a new role. Clubs need leaders. Number 7, attend the next Rotary International Convention in Hamburg. Number 8, be part of history and help eradicate polio. Number 9, use the resources in the Rotary Brand Center. Number 10, meet other members who share your interests and passions. There's a wine drinking group, and for all of you landlocked yacht owners in Kansas, there is a group of Rotary yacht owners and enthusiasts as well. Number 11, connect on social media. And number 12, support the Rotary Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your Rotary Minute. Thank you. This month, our cut money goes to the Topeka Library Foundation. It's for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library Literacy Program for children who are children birth through age 5. This program will allow 14 children to participate and be ready for kindergarten. Each enrolled child gets in the mail a free age-appropriate book every month, so please give heartily to the cut money. Are there any Friend X announcements that anybody would like to share today? Any Friend X announcements? Going once? Gone. Do you have any ties that you no longer wear? Please bring those to our meetings. We'll donate those to the Interact clubs. I'm looking forward to July 1st when I will no longer wear ties once a week for a number of reasons. And so I plan to bring a few after the 1st of July as well. And today, William Patetta has a presentation to all of you who have earned your blue badge and are in attendance today. So William.
Thank you, President Mark. Just to make sure that we do not miss anyone, if I read your name off, would you please come up for the presentation of your blue badge? Lois Dennett, Robert Gould, Alonzo Jameson, Colleen Jameson, James Jeffries, Betty Morris, Carrie Noberry, Clint Patty, Gianfranco Pezzino, Monica Pittman-Louie, Mike Riley, Shell Rios, and Brett Trout. We've got 4 total here today. Great.
4 important ones, right?
The 4 most important ones. So, just a reminder to the club is that the Red Badge, Blue Badge program is designed to help induct new members into the club and get them to understand, learn more about the club and get to know all the other members as much as possible. The requirements are that they attend an orientation, participate in a service project, be a greeter, contribute to the Rotary International Foundation or the Topeka Rotary Foundation, and update their profile in the club on the club's website. Those are all required, but then they have an option of several other things that they can do. They pick 3 of them, like attend a Rotary District Conference. Did anybody do that? Awesome. Or participate in another outside of regular meeting activity or different things like that. Again, it's an opportunity. It's a program to allow you, and I hope you got to know more people in the club, got to learn more about how the club works, how Rotary International works, and now you all have earned your official blue badge. It's a permanent badge, so you can tell that we're not going to change the name in it. Everyone, please take this moment to welcome our, congratulate our
Thank you, William. Speaking of blue badges, mine is on the table in our drop zone right inside our back door. So I would encourage you all to leave yours in the badge boxes at the back of the room when you exit. It's easier than remembering them every week. With that said, I'd like to introduce Grant Glenn, who will introduce our speaker today. Grant.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I did it. All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. Pleased today to have 2 speakers to inform us a lot about Rotary International. And both of these are acclaimed people in Rotary and in our communities. I'm not going to say Larry Dimmitt needs no introduction, but to this group, he needs no introduction. However, I do want to remind you that he is a graduate of Kansas State University and Washington University, so let's hear it for those universities. The next speaker is new to us, but I've known Duane for several years. He and I have been on the Freedom's Frontier Board of Trustees. And that's an organization where our own Joan Wagner, Jim Rankin, and Jim Ogle have all had a hand in growing the organization. Duane this year is the chairman of our Board of Trustees, and right here I was told by Jim Ogle I had to wear my special shirt and little advertising today, where I sit with him on the Board of Trustees. And he and I were visiting about Rotary one day, and I realized that he was a really high muckety muck. And so I asked him if he could come and tell us a little bit more about what he does with his committee, and it's really fascinating. So he and Larry will explain to us how Rotary International really works and where the decisions are made. Let me give you a little background about Duane. He's been president of 2 clubs. He's been a district governor, president of the Show Me Rotary Multi-District President-Elect Training. He has served on 3 international committees that report directly to the Board of Directors of Rotary International. He's a member of the Rotary Club of Kansas City, major donor, and a member of the Paul Harris Society. He was chair of the 2016 Council of Legislation at Rotary's Triennial Parliament, and just finished chairing the 2019 conference. He is a member of the United States Court of Appeals, the 8th Circuit, in his office based in Kansas City. He is one of the few people that have the distinction of not only being on the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, but formerly a member of the Missouri Supreme Court and was Chief Justice for a 2-year term. He is a graduate of Northwestern University, as well as Yale Law School, and also holds a degree from Memphis State University. He has the distinction of being the only member of the federal bench who is also a CPA. So that makes him really smart. And with that, I will introduce Larry and Duane. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Larry, you know where your mic is. If you want to try to get that up, I do want to say one thing, that there are 35,000, Larry, is that a good number? 35,000?
Clubs?
Yeah, clubs.
Yeah, you bet.
There are 35,000 Rotary clubs all around the world in 200 countries, and there are 17 directors that make the decision on our board of directors. As you know, Larry is a director for a 2-year term, and if you do the math, gosh, it's like a fraction of 1% of the clubs have a director. And some people, the director is 3 or 4 countries away. Larry can tell you, in much of the world, the director is 3 or 4 countries away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Larry deserves more of an introduction than I'm going to give him. And even more important, Larry, is the one who's done all the work, which is Lois. And it's good to see her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My wife's also a Rotarian, and she does the work, and I take the credit. So, you know, we have a great relationship.
That's changing.
Is it?
Started to take a stand.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Well, I hadn't noticed that. Anyhow, I'm just kidding you. And of course, you have a governor. There are 45 clubs and 2,400, did you say, Governor? Rotarians in
And she's a woman.
this part of Kansas? Boy, I agree. And so, anyhow, well, Larry, did you try to get it up?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, that was your cue.
Okay.
Okay, you want to try to do that?
You're probably
Pop this in. You want me to do it?
Yeah, why
Okay,
don't you?
Step back.
Yeah. He is a CPA after all.
I'll probably screw it up. And so, since I screw it up, we're getting close. We're getting close. Slideshow.
Damn, all right.
We're off to a flying start. The PowerPoint worked. And this will not be death by, is that the clicker?
Well, I gotta
Is that
plug
the
it in.
clicker?
Let me get-
Oh, you gotta plug it in, okay. Well, we're kind of do this on the fly.
Good thing you came early.
Yeah, that's right. We came early. Well, I've spoken to many groups over the years about the Council on Legislation. Did you get it working? Okay, let me have it.
Should be going.
I've spoken to many groups, and if you take 100 Rotarians, I would bet you any amount of money that 99 of them have no clue what the Council on Legislation is. And so, what is the Council? And the answer is Rotary's Parliament. Rotary does have a Parliament. Larry is the executive, the board of directors, you know, general management of everything. But Rotary does have a Parliament. It began as part of the convention back in the 30s. It met kind of as a subcommittee at the convention. You see, that's what it is there. Until 1972, it was kind of a subcommittee that would bring stuff back to the floor of the International Convention. That's what it really was. In 74, it began meeting every 3 years. 77, it got to where it had no connection to the convention. 2001, it had been meeting all around the world. It began meeting only in Chicago. And in 2016, the resolutions. Any club can put forward a resolution. And sometimes we had 1,000 resolutions. And you know, no group can handle 1,000 resolutions. So therefore, beginning in 16, the resolutions were separated out to an online vote and an online consideration. There's 3 years for the council. It meets every 3 years. The first year, the representatives are selected, and your representative is Florence. Tell me her name.
Vicki Randall from the Lawrence Club.
Past governor.
Past governor, right.
Was representing. Of course, Larry's there too. I'll show you in a second. Year 2, legislation's proposed. Any club can propose legislation. And they do it on about every subject, don't they?
Yes,
It's just every subject known to humanity, they propose something on. Like changing the 4-way test? Yes, yes, they do. Those don't succeed, but they do propose that. And they propose changing the object of Rotary. They propose, you name it. You know Rotarians. Get 10 Rotarians together, got 22 opinions.
They had a proposal last year. You had to meet at least 40 times during the year.
Yeah, the club must
Which
meet
was
40
denied.
times. Yeah, so forth. So that is the council cycle. That's what it looks like
Now, I want you to know that the guy up there in the front of the podium, that is Duane in 2016 and 2019.
Yeah,
He's the guy in charge of this entire event. So.
Yeah, that's a little speck. That is me.
Is that you?
Yeah, I don't know whether my mother would recognize me or my wife, but it is true. But you get 800 people in this room. 800 people packed into the room. That's what it looks like. And we do have screens. Again, that's me on the screen. These are stock photos, by the way, but still I'm on the screen. But that's so the people at the edges have to watch on the screen because their view is about like that first picture. And it's a little bit like being at the Allen Arena or whatever it is, field house. And we work all day. It is a business meeting, right, Larry? It has no, entertainment, no preaching, no lecturing. As you see, it is a legislative meeting. One district, each district gets one representative, so there are 538 potential. 532 were there this time for the whole way. A few always have a visa problem because remember, India has about the second biggest number, and then they're just from all over the world and every way in the world. Must be a past governor to be a representative. And of course, as you see, 78% serve one time. There's no term limit, but there's so many good past district governors. I'm one of them. You will be soon. Yeah, come July 1. There's so many good ones that's the way that works. Only the representatives vote. But however, as you see there, they're non-voting members. And Larry's in the group that says RI Board of Directors down there. Yes. And they are members of the council. They are there for the proceedings. The non-voting people may speak, but they may not vote. Get it? And the representatives, one from each district, make the decisions. Of course, it was just in April, and Grant had the idea to have this program. We're just barely recovered from it. It is an intense week. And that just happened April 14 to 18 in Chicago. And the enactments have to be in a year and a half ahead of time. Notice that. So it's not long till we're getting ready for the next one. A year and a half before it. Enactments are what the council deal with. Enactments, considered every 3 years, can change the constitutional documents. That's a very important term. RI's Constitution, the Constitution of the organization can be changed. They can change the name of Rotary. Yeah, they can. They really can. Change the name of Rotary, and then the second level are bylaws. You're an organization, have a constitution and bylaws. You get the point. And then every club coming into Rotary has to adopt the standard constitution. And this club, all clubs, my club, has to use that as the framework. Now you can make some changes, but you have to use that as the framework. And of course the enactments have to have a purpose and effect statement as to what they're doing. That's what it looks like. It's a book that has all the proposed legislation. I told you it comes in from all over the world. And this year there were 117 serious proposals. Now we get 200 or 300, but some of them are, they're seriously, they're not that, I shouldn't use that word, but they're just not serious proposals. So what we want to focus on here today, and that's when I'll have Larry do a lot more talking. I'm just the warm-up act here for the main event.
Actually, I'm the color commentator.
You're well put.
It's the play-by-play.
Boy, am I the play-by-play. That's well put, Larry. So I'll be the play-by-play, just telling, I like sports commentators and all sports. They tell you exactly when he hit the ball. Anybody can see he hit the ball. She did this. Anyhow. That is what the book looks like, 500, 600 pages.
I'd say the book is about 5 inches thick.
It just
really heavy to carry around.
Well, and we had one proposal that was 100 and some pages.
Yeah.
The rewrite of part of the bylaws was 100 and some pages alone, one item. Here are some statistics that give you a feel Look at the 2019 column at the far right. We had 117, as I told you, serious proposals. 116 of those were enactments, and we're going to tell you about a position statement. That's new. That's what the one PS means, when position statement. And 47 were adopted. 46 enactments and one position statement. And you can see the numbers over the years. The numbers are inflated in previous years because look at the resolutions line. There were 183 resolutions. I told you there were thousands that pour in. We had 183 in 2007, and those now go to the electronic vote. Because a resolution, you understand what resolutions are. That's just an expression of opinion. Yeah, you know. So those have been separated. Okay, Larry, you're about on. One of the big items this time and a priority of our president of Rotary International was Rotaract clubs. Larry, you want to talk?
This is a very important item, and interestingly enough, the first day that it was presented by the president of Rotary, Barry Rassin, it was not passed. So
it came very close to 2/3.
Yes, it requires a 2/3 vote. And so that next morning, I had breakfast where Barry was, and he was really sweating on that because this is a very important enactment. And to make a long story short, it was passed. But what this enactment provided is that Rotaract, which is the organization in Rotary of young people from 18 to 30, that Rotaract would cease to be just a program of Rotary, and Rotaract clubs would become members of Rotary and of Rotary International. So what that means is that, like our club, the Topeka Club, is a member of Rotary International. Now, you all are not members of Rotary International. You're members of our club. But our club and all the 35,000 clubs are members of Rotary International. Well, Rotaract has been in existence since 1968, and it was a program like Interact and Youth Exchange and so forth. But the feeling has been that Rotaract has grown so much in importance in Rotary around the world, not so much in this area as in some other parts of the world, that the time had come to make them a member of Rotary International. So on the second vote, by a 2/3 vote, today, Rotaract clubs in the world are, as of July 1, will be members of Rotary International, just like Rotary clubs are members of Rotary International. Now, what difference does that make to Rotaractors? Not too much, frankly, at the outset. Eventually, they'll have their own constitutions, their own procedures, and so forth. But the main thing is it will elevate Rotaract in the family of Rotary to recognize the service and the achievements that they make within Rotary and make them a full partner in Rotary rather than just being a program of Rotary International. So this is a major development, and in some parts of the world, Rotaract is an extremely important step of getting from the youth programs into Rotary. And so we're very happy that this enactment was passed.
And candidly, the best numbers that RI has, and Larry's a director, he may have better numbers than I do, but boy, traditionally, the fall off in membership between being a Rotaractor and then coming into Rotary has been tremendous.
Yes, it has. And so what we hope this will do is incent Rotaractors to continue to be involved in Rotary. Once they reach the age 30, to step from that into Rotary. And I might mention there are about 10,000 Rotaract clubs in the world, about 300,000 Rotaract members. So what this means is that we now have a large group of folks involved in Rotary that are partners with Rotary International.
No question about it. Previously, the constitutional documents, RI's Constitution, the bylaws, and of course the Rotary Club Constitution, none of those even had the word Rotaract in them. Period. Yeah. It was a program, a stepchild. And this is a high priority. You notice that Larry's on the board. There will be phased in board supervision. The president and the board committed that they're going to go to the Rotaractors and see how they want to phase this stage in. Because eventually they will be like Rotary clubs. And how that will work, the president pledged he's going to go with the Rotaractors. You, the board, are going to go to Rotaractors and see the best way to do this, because we don't want to break up what they got going. 300,000 of them. And how many clubs did you say, Larry?
Yes.
How many clubs, Larry?
There are about 300,000 Rotaractors,
Yep.
about 10,000 clubs.
10,000 clubs. And so That was the biggest item. It was President Barry's, and like I said, it barely failed by 14 votes, to be precise. To amend our Constitution requires a 2/3 vote. And it got a healthy majority, but 14 votes short. In fact, when the vote was first posted, I can't talk today, I'm in Missouri, but when it was first posted today, that day on the vote, everyone cheered because it looked overwhelming. It just fell short of 2/3. The second vote was 70-some%, way over.
I might mention, just as a postscript to that, in Kansas we have 2 Rotary clubs. So in Kansas we have not really developed this program or this partnership as they do in many parts of the world. And I'm hoping, and many of us are hoping, that in the United States that we will step up and increase the number of Rotaractors that we have. And for example, in Latin America, they have 5 times as many Rotary clubs as we have in the United States. So it's a real opportunity for us to promote a Rotary organization for young people in that age range and increase the likelihood that they will join Rotary when they reach 30.
And your governor could tell you there are districts that have many Rotary clubs. There are many districts that have none. Next item we'll talk about is Rotary's tax status. Okay, Larry, talk about this one.
Well, I'll do the best I can. I'm an attorney, or a recovering attorney, retired, but the U.S. tax code is not one of my areas of expertise. But in any event, as a director and on the board that looked at this item, the board of directors in January approved submitting a proposal to the Council on Legislation to turn Rotary International into a 501c3, moving them from a 501c4. And what that means, if you're a 501c4, which is like our club, your basic focus is on charitable and educational activities. But if you're a 501c3, your basic focus is, that's what the 501c3 is. The 501c4 is social or welfare programs. But what the board approved was converting Rotary International from a 501c4 to a 501c3. And when that was passed in January by the board, then it was also passed on to the Board of Trustees, because our foundation is a 501c3 and Rotary International is a 501c4. So the object is to make both of them 501c3s. And both the Board of Directors that I'm a member of and the Board of Trustees approved that this matter be sent to the Council on Legislation with the recommendation that RI, Rotary International, be converted into a 501c3. Well, what does that do? What's the advantage of doing that? Well, there are a number of advantages. For example, in some states, a 501c3 is entitled to certain tax reductions. Now, it happens to be in the state of Kansas. You still pay sales tax even if you're a 501c3.
You're kidding me, Larry.
No.
I was state tax collector in Missouri for 3 years, back many years ago. And almost every state on a C3 has some sort of exemption.
Now, there may be some advantage, but not sales tax. And for example,
Go ahead.
In 2 years, we're going to move the International Assembly, which is where district governors go to be trained. It's going to move from California to Florida. Florida is a state that acknowledges a 501c3 as being exempt from sales tax. Other advantages, purchases that are made by the Rotary Foundation are made with certain discounts, like online services, computer services, and those discounts are not afforded to RI because they are a 501c4. For example, another advantage is that it will encourage contributions to RI for events and things that are held, whereas now if you contribute to Rotary International, you do not get a tax deduction on your U.S. income tax. So the total number of changes that this will bring about amounts to somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million a year, which is beneficial to Rotary International. Well, you might say, well, this is a problem here in the United States. What do the people in India care about this, or South America? Well, the answer is that this will save money for Rotary International, and that benefits Rotarians all over the world. So the bottom line is that this matter was submitted to a vote to the council because the fact that with the recommendation of the board of directors and the board of trustees, but they didn't have the authority to pass it. They had to get authority from the legislative body to approve this change. And they did approve that change on the final day.
Some 78%. It was overwhelming after it was done. And I might add, one other thing that was prominent in the debate is there are several organizations, and you can think of some, and some of you are involved in some, that will cooperate with and partner with a C3 that won't do anything with a C4. Because the basic theory of a C4 is to help the members. It's a membership-focused approach.
The other thing to add, and this is a very important addendum, and that is that this change in the status of RI, or Rotary International, will not affect clubs at all. Clubs will continue to be 501c4s. We will function as we always have. So the only difference is that Rotary International will be the 501c3, and it's conditioned on the clubs remaining 501c4s, which they are now.
Right. Here's some housekeeping stuff. You saw how many items the council was considering, and they passed this proposal, and again overwhelmingly, to vote ahead of time. We've always waited to these 4 or 5 days in Chicago to pack everything in. And this allows vetting or screening, pre-screening of the items, and those, and there are several of them that get less than 20%. We had several this time, beginning, the council, about changing the object of Rotary into 4-way test. I'm not kidding you. Changing them. Yeah. And they get almost no votes. And yet we take time, they present them, a few people debate them. I'm pushing them not to debate anymore. You know, I'm telling everybody how stupid are we. And nice language. I don't put it quite that plainly. So that was passed. The bylaws were cleaned up. I'll talk about these because I served on a committee that worked on it for 3 years. Our bylaws have been last reviewed in 1995, and we, without changing the meaning, cut them in third. Cut them from 30,000 words to 20,000 words. The same on the standard club constitution. It went down by 1/6. It went down from about 1,200 words to about 1,000 words. Here are some miscellaneous items that were passed. Overwhelmingly passed was each club shall have a well-balanced membership that celebrates diversity. We still have clubs. Now, I won't expect to talk about Kansas. I'll use Missouri as a bad example here. Tell Missouri cheer up, they can serve as a bad example on this. Because we do have a few clubs in Missouri that have 1 female member. Now, I must tell you, in one place, a small town, she is the banker of the town. But you get my point. But they have 1 female member. And so that was adopted, and now it is a bylaw of Rotary International. Flexibility. The 2016 Council says you, the Topeka Rotary Club, on membership, you can decide what kind of members you want to have. Yes, you can have corporate members. My club has corporate members, 10 or 12. And that is where a corporation pays the membership. And they designate 3 or 4, 5 or 6, we don't care, to attend one at a time from their corporation. And you can have shared membership. Teachers do shared membership. They can't come every week, but 4 teachers can share a membership. Just anything you can think of on membership, you can do at the club level. You can tier it any way you can think of, and that was affirmed again on membership. Larry, anything on membership we want to say quickly? The great flexibility?
Other than the flexibility continues, and our club has adopted some classifications, categories of membership, and I think we're pursuing that line of reasoning. And there were attempts to turn that back at the council.
Yes,
they
correct.
turned down. So, okay.
And that's what I was trying to say in my affirmed point here. This is my slide. And that's what it was affirmed because there are certain areas of the world, and I'll be nice, if you ask me, I'll tell you it's Japan, that are very strict about Rotary, and they don't like that flexibility. They think all clubs everywhere in the world ought to be the same. Have any of you traveled to Japan? Yes. They're very nice. Very nice people, but you notice the great conformity of the society. If you're supposed to line up someplace, they line up someplace, you know.
white shirts.
I know, they all speak English too, many speak English. But anyhow, they have been strongly for a uniform club deal, and flexibility has won the last two councils overwhelmingly. Same on attendance. You no longer, remember when I was first in Rotary, you had 14 days to attend a meeting and do that, and if you had to make 60 or 70%, it was 70 when I first came in. Then you're supposed to make 60, and technically you're supposed to be kicked out if you didn't make 60 or 70, you know, all that junk. That doesn't matter. The issue is engagement, not meetings. Engagement is the rule, and your club can adopt anything on engagement. You can say you never even have to come here to this meeting at all. You know, you can do a service project every week. You can do this. You can watch online. We no longer have a distinction even between e-clubs and real clubs. Same on meetings. There is a technical requirement that you meet twice, but even that can be done by having the meetings back to back. Larry, you want to say anything on flexibility?
There's one other item I was going to mention,
Sure.
Duane.
Go ahead.
And that is, one of the things that the council adopted was a dues increase. And if you remember, after the 16 council, they adopted an increase of $4 a year for 3 years. So the expectation this time was that there would not be a dues increase. But RI dues, in fact, are going to increase $1 a year over the next 3 years. And that will begin in the year 2020-21. And so it's going to go from $68, which it is now, to $71 a year over the 3-year period. And this is despite major efforts to cut down on expenses, which the board, we heard a lot of testimony about that. And also the fact that 70% of our revenues to RI does come from the dues. And the other interesting thing is that we, Rotary International has been at 1.2 million members for the last 15 to 20 years. And if we would increase members, we would reduce the pressure on raising dues all the time. So that's one of the comments that came out in the presentation. And and the other thing is that we've used the money that we raised in 2016 on some major projects, but Rotary continues to have the things that they need to do for the future. So we're going to have an increase of $1 a year starting in about a year, and hopefully that will get us through where we need to be financially.
And try to buy a cup of coffee for $1 these days.
Yeah.
Okay, questions? We have, yeah, okay, great. I'll get the mic here. What's the question?
How many languages was the...
7. It's 7 simultaneous interpretation. Everything must be translated into 7 languages. And I was on the council in 10 and 13 before we had an app. And before we had an app, it was a nightmare. We had people working all night to translate the stuff and hand it out in paper the next morning. You can't imagine what a nightmare it is. And remember, we have people scattered all over the place that speak 7 languages, and I might add, that's the 7 official languages. We have several other people, like the Germans are supposed to speak English. They do not get a separate German interpretation. I gave you several other countries. The Scandinavian countries are classified as English for this purpose.
So, for example, when you step up to speak in favor of or against an enactment, what you do is you say, my name is Larry Dimmitt, I'm speaking in favor of enactment, so-and-so, and I'll be speaking in English.
And you put your headphones on to get the simultaneous
everybody in the room has
interpretation.
headphones on all the time because you never know what language the next speaker is going to be
But
speaking.
thank God for the app, because now with the app, guess what? Any of you do Google Translate? Well, this makes Google Translate look like an infant, because we can almost immediately, even big concepts and legalistic things, have them on the app in their own language. And it used to be painful to hear some of these people stand up and say, this morning I walked in and you gave me this 50-page amendment. Yeah, you gave me a 50-page amendment in English. And I'm from one of these countries, let's say the Scandinavian countries. Yeah, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. I'm from one of those, and English I just barely do, and you give me this legalistic 50-page, how am I supposed to vote on it? Get it? And so the app changes that, because the app is unlimited. Very good question. Grant has a question.
Yeah, how much time do you personally invest in preparing for this, and how much does this cost Rotary to put on?
It's a $4 million production. It's $1 per Rotarian over the 3 years. So it's a $4 million operation. We're always under budget. But if you bring 540 people from the ends of the earth for a week in Chicago. And of course, we picked this time the week that ended right before Easter. A little tough on the Christians, maybe. They got to leave on Thursday afternoon. We weren't anti-Christian, but guess what we did when we went to the hotels? They have no business then, right before Easter. I understand the Easter brunches, but right before Easter, do they have big conferences in Chicago? No. We went and we bid them against each other. So we came in way under budget. So that is the cost. And what was the other part? Oh, how much time do I spend? It's almost like having a second job. There's a committee of 16 of us, and we meet twice personally, but umpteen times by email and that kind of thing. It's a big job.
We've got time for one more question.
One more question, says Larry.
Back in the back, John.
And I'm running John. Hold on, John. I'll get you the mic so everybody can hear.
If RI becomes a 501c3, will my $68 be tax deductible for the dues?
When you contribute to, after July 1, when you contribute to Rotary International, I think the answer is yes.
That's the basic answer, John, is yes.
Yes. And likewise, if you contribute to any number of things for RI, you now have a new tax deductible status. If you make a contribution, of course, as you tax lawyers have to divide what's a business expense and what's a contribution. But yeah, generally the answer is yes, John.
Is that it? Yeah, please.
Thank you both. We have a history of asking our speakers to sign the bookplate.
Well, great.
And we'd be honored if both of you did that. This book is The Last Kids on Earth and the Cosmic Beyond. And so we'll donate that to Ross Elementary School's library in your honor. And we have a Rotary 4-way test coin for each of you. We believe in consolidated power here, and the past president, who was immediately before me, made it a 4.5-way test. And so we're going to say that here in just a minute. But next week, we have a great presentation from Craig Duke, who is the chief of Topeka Fire Department, and we'll be reading right back here in the Maynard Conference Center. But with that said, today is a National Memorial Lost Sock Day. So if any of you are experiencing any loss on that issue, take a moment out to think of any lost socks that you had this afternoon, and let's wrap up and say the 4.5-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?